Alright, this is going to be a video about my Commodore 64 collection. This is just a totally rough, shot with a cell phone video, so don't expect anything amazing, but I'll show off what I have here in the bedroom. Well, it's not much of a bedroom, it's just my Commodore room, but anyways, let's get on to it. This first one is one that I just had in the on the workbench. This is an NTSC model. It's not in too bad a shape. I don't know if you can see it. It's got some nicks and stuff on it. Anyways, this is a late model NTSC Breadbin. You can see from the serial number. It's got a lot of scuffs on it and stuff. It's not really in bad shape and it runs really good. It's a 250-425 motherboard. As you can see, it's got the metal shield inside of it, like most of these boards have. So anyways, that's the first one. On to the next. Alright, this next machine is, as you can obviously tell, this was a machine that I built myself out of one of the clear Kickstarter cases. It's got a 250469 short board in it. It's got an original shield and everything. I totally assembled this machine out of parts that I obtained from all over the country. They were all totally loose spare parts that I had found and reassembled them again into a good working machine. It's got one of those badges that you can get off of eBay. They're pretty nice quality. You can see it's kind of it's the opposite of embossing, where it's actually almost like an engraved. It's an engraving. The letters are actually carved out of this plastic here. And they are plastic, but I still like them. Pretty good. And being that this is a homemade machine, there is no serial number. So, alright, on to the next one. Alright, this machine's pretty interesting. This was an eBay find sometime last year, I believe. This thing is in pretty much mint condition. It's only got the tiniest little bit of marks, any sort of wear on it. But basically what makes this machine special is, as best as I can tell, this is one of the very last manufactured NTSC American Breadbins. I'm about 99% sure this keyboard was installed in this thing from the factory. The reason why I think that, it's got white feet on the bottom. And if you look at the serial number, that's one of the latest serial numbers that is on the C64 serial registry. At least it's one of the latest for a Breadbin anyway. This machine's got 250466 motherboard. It's got the shield inside of it, the metallic one. But this is one of the large, this is the long board, the large C64C motherboard that's only got 2 RAM chips. And the cell phone camera is giving me focusing troubles already. Alright, on to the next one. Alright, here's another machine. It's another NTSC Breadbin, but as you can see, what makes this one unique is it's got the second version VIC-20 keyboard. It's not a PET keyboard, but it's the one with the large, I believe they call it Euro style typeface. It's actually a really nice keyboard to use. It's a pretty good machine. This one's in pretty good shape as well. This is the serial number on it. So other than that, it's not super remarkable. It's a 250407 board, so nothing super special about it, but it is an interesting machine, as I'm pretty sure this keyboard came in it from the factory as well, because when I got this machine, it was obvious no one had ever been inside of it before. Alright, now for something interesting. You don't see these in America too often. This is a PAL C64G. It's a little bit yellowed and whatnot, but you know, I use these things. I don't just look at them. So I don't care about a bit of yellowing personally. But basically, for those that don't know, this is a Breadbin, but it's got a C64C shortboard in it. So, show you the bottom of it here. It's got the warranty stickers here, but somebody's been into them, as you can see. And there's the serial number. The other interesting thing is you can see through the vents, you can see the back of the circuit board. To my knowledge, the vast majority of PAL European machines, they don't have the shields in the back of the boards like American ones do. Everything that you can see there is where the channel select switch is supposed to go. Nothing. Yeah, it's a Breadbin. It's got the 250469 C64C shortboard. So that's the 64G. Here's one of the mini Breadbins. This happens to be a European PAL machine there. This is the only one that I own that's just the normal PAL Breadbin. As you can see, it's got the no channel select thing there. It's a 250425 board in it though, so it's got really nice video output for being a Breadbin. But that's this. This machine's pretty cool. It's an NTSC Breadbin. It's got one of these, oh god, what are they called? I can't think of it on the top of my head. Anyways, it's got one of these keyboard covers on it. Computer Mate, that's the name of it. It's supposed to be a little badge that goes right here. And you'll get to see one of those. It still has the badge intact here in just a little while. But this thing's in really good condition. But I don't know if you can see this. The front of the keyboard, this area right here, is very, very smooth and polished. Somebody used this machine a lot. They used it enough to polish the plastic with their wrists. But the interesting thing about this machine is it's a 1982 model machine. One of the ways that you can tell is the power cutout here is square. And also, of course, there's only 5 pins for the video connector instead of 8 like all the rest of them. It's got a green power connector. If you look here, notice something interesting. It's got the FCC certification sticker there. 46451. This is a very, very early Breadbin that happens to be a rainbow label. If this serial number was much older, it would very, very likely be a silver label. But it's not. The other cool thing about this machine is this was actually a present given to me by Chris537. So that should tell you what kind of a cool dude he is for giving me this machine for free. The other cool thing about it too is I'm not taking it apart, but it's got gold ceramic RAM chips in it, which is kind of interesting. You don't see that too often. On to the next machine. Alright, here's another weird one. This is a PAL machine, and right away I'm sure you're going to notice something. Somebody's done some really weird stuff to this. Basically what this thing is, it's a PAL Breadbin, but somebody's installed quite a bit of modifications in this thing. I'm assuming they were going to do a parallel mod at some point, but actually inside the case, this isn't even hooked to anything. It's just the connector installed in the case. There's no wires hooked to this whatsoever. However, these are hooked up. What this machine has in it is it has a triple kernel switcher, and it's also got a 5-way internal cartridge mod. So it's got triple kernels, selectable with this 3-way switch, and using various combinations of these switches here, you can switch 5 different EEPROMs in and out, and they basically act as 8K cartridges. Really interesting machine. This is another one of the machines I got from Marvin Droogsma from Amsterdam. That's where basically all of my European PAL machines have come from. He's a super cool dude. I really appreciate him hooking me up with these machines. And there's the serial number for this one. Come on, focus, camera. There we go. Alright, on to the next one. Okay, here's another relatively common NTSC Breadbin. The reason I kept this around as part of the collection is it's in really good condition. The keyboard, the keys aren't even yellowed. They're real nice and bright white still. The case is practically immaculate. But basically this is a fairly early 250407 motherboard Breadbin. It's a Rev A 407 board, as a matter of fact. But in case you can't tell, I've kind of centered my Commodore collection around the revisions of the boards that they made throughout the years. So that should give you a little bit of a clue as to what drove my collection and made me pick the machines that I've picked so far. This autofocus is driving you nuts. Alright, on to the next machine. Alright, here's another one that I've basically built myself. Back before I had found myself any actual genuine silver labels, I built this. This is a Replica silver label. As you can see, it's got those eBay badges on it once again. I think they look pretty cool. Doesn't look like a real silver label though, but you know, hey. Once again, this machine was assembled out of parts that I basically gathered from all over the place. Keyboard from one place, board from another. The case is actually a case that was totally broken when I got it. I don't know if you can see there, but there was a great big crack here that I repaired. This case also had a pretty common problem. The whole back of this was completely busted out, so I sort of epoxied it back together, and it works okay. The serial number basically doesn't matter anymore because it's a total mishmash of parts, but as you can see, it's a real 82 5-pin board. But basically, I totally recapped the board. It's got all legitimate 82 chips in it, aside from the CIAs, I believe. Everything else is legitimate 1982 chips. Yeah, it's a pretty cool machine. I just recently modified it with my with the modification that allows this thing to use the 1541 Ultimate and Easy Flash. So I might actually get a little bit more use out of this machine than I have been lately, because not being able to use your modern Commodore 64 goodies is a bit of a bummer. Alright, on to the next one. Alright, here's another random eBay find. This is a Breadbin. No, really. Everything about this is a Breadbin except for the case. And the case happens to be pretty special. The case was an aftermarket case manufactured by an Australian company. I can't think of their name off the top of my head, but basically, through a mail order catalog, you could send away for this case. Then you could take your Breadbin 64, take all the guts out of it, put it in this case. So essentially, I would assume it's a poor man's 64C. Yeah, someone drilled the hole there for a reset button. Despite the fact this case comes stock with a reset button and a place to put your Jiffy DOS switch. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a 250407, Breadbin motherboard inside of this case. But it does have, Jiffy DOS and a reset switch. So this is a pretty cool machine. This gets quite a bit of use as well. Yeah, on to the next one. Alright, this is a pretty cool machine. It's a 64C. It's a PAL variation. It's in really nice shape. This is a machine that I purchased from Marvin in the Netherlands again. As you can see, he's replaced the badge with, I believe he told me this was a Commodore CDTV badge. But it looks like it was actually made to go on there. It's pretty cool. Yeah, he basically custom made this this 64C out of random parts. As you can see, this is the case variation that has the clips instead of screws, which is kind of weird. It kind of makes the case feel a little more chintzier, like it's cheaper, but it's one of those things. But yeah, it's totally missing a serial number because apparently this was a new old stock case I don't know if I understood him correctly, but basically he showed some pictures of this machine and said, hey, anybody want to buy this? And I jumped in there in like 10 seconds and said, take my money. So anyways, on to the next one. Anyways, you'll notice I have two sitting here this time. These are both 64Cs, obviously. They're both NTSC. The only main difference is this is an NTSC shortboard. One of the ways that you can tell is that the F1 and F2 are printed on the tops of the keys, and the symbols are printed on the tops of the keys. There's the serial number of this one. Believe it or not, this was maybe like the second or third Commodore 64 that I had bought when I had started my collection again a couple years ago. Yeah, believe it or not, all the machines that I've showed you I have collected within the last 2 years. And I'll show you this other one here real fast, just a second. Oh, come on now, focus. Alright, here we go. This one's a really nice shape one too. It's ever so slightly yellowed, but you'd really have to be nitpicking to be upset about it. There we go. 1299226. Yeah, this is a 64C with the large motherboard variation in it. That's about it for the 64s that are in the room at the moment. The sad thing is, this isn't all of the Commodore 64s I own. I also own a couple boxes of motherboards that I've repaired, and yeah, I guess it's more of a hoard than a collection at this point, but you know, what are you gonna do? Alright, on to the finales, I guess. Alright, here's one of the two finales I have here. That's a silver label. This is one of 3 silver labels I own. I have 2 of them out right now that I'm going to show you. But there you go, there's the Computer Mate badge that goes on this keyboard cover. This thing is in pretty immaculate condition as well. No real quality issues with this one. Basically, this one is essentially untouched. It's in really good condition, minus the keyboard cover, but that honestly doesn't bother me that much, because, you know, that's what people did to these machines back in the day. Instead of having to put one of those goofy brown covers over their keyboard to keep the dust out of it when they weren't using it, you know, you got a little flip down cover. But yeah, as you can see, there's a 15147 serial number. This one was made in California in the United States of America. But it's a 1982 board, of course. You can tell by the 5-pin port, green cartridge connector. If you look through the back here, you can actually see that the shield's brass. Instead of, they switched it to steel or tin-plated steel or something later on. But a lot of these earlier machines have brass shields in it. So anyway, I got one more machine to show you, and that'll be the end of this video. Just a second. Alright, remember I was just saying the goofy brown covers? Well, here's one of them. I have 2 of these covers. This one I actually use. The other cover is still in its original box. So I'm kind of debating whether to just leave it in the box because it's lasted this long, but you know, I've already got one of these covers if I want to use one. So, well, anyways, let me take that off real fast. There is my second silver label. As you can see, there's a little bit of scratch in the label. You know, what are you going to do? The machine's almost as old as I am, so... Yeah, that's one thing I've always loved about these machines is that little 64 logo instead of the standard power light one that you're used to seeing on rainbow labels. As you can see, this machine's in pretty good condition as well. except for one thing. But I actually kind of think this is neat. To me, it's not even really a condition issue. Apparently, this was owned by Newcastle Community Schools. Let's see if I can get the goofy phone to focus once again. Yep, they engraved the side of it here. I'm assuming because it was school property, so they wanted to keep track of the machines. Basically, so someone couldn't steal this, you know, and get away with it, I suppose. Yep, it says Chapter 2, 1983, number 11. I wonder if the other, presumably 10 Commodore 64s they had were silver labels as well. But you can see it's 5-pin video. It's got the white channel select switch, the green cartridge connector, which are all indicative of legitimate silver labels. And this one happens to be serial number 35485, which is pretty far up there. Judging by what's on the C64 Preservation Serial Registry site, the range for silver labels, at least NTSC American ones, pretty much ends around 40,000. That's that other Breadbin that I showed you that was a rainbow label. It's serial number 40-something thousand. So it's right after the switch over from silver labels to the rainbow labels. But anyways, that was my the main bulk of my Commodore 64 collection. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe I'll make a video on some of the VIC-20s and stuff I have, but I don't have anywhere near as many of them that I do 64s. Because if you haven't noticed by now, I'm a Commodore 64 freak. So anyways, that's my video. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.